Good man.
Yeah,
Good man.
did not run.
Oh, yeah, but sing on silent.
Well, let's hope,
It gets it.
let's, yeah.
All right, I'll go get the cards out of the car and we'll play some.
It could be a brief meeting if we don't have another show.
Yeah, I thought those guys were gonna be here. I didn't think Brian was gonna be out until, yeah,
Yeah.
I remember him talking about something coming up, but
yeah.
Yeah.
I know I will be out, for the next study, at the next study session, and Carolyn will pinch hit.
Yeah, the
I
next
thought somebody else was out next study session too. Was that Brian?
Yeah, I think that was,
Yeah.
yeah. Wonder if I should.
I don't see anything here in my emails, like
No.
emailed me at the last minute to tell me they couldn't come.
Sorry for the delay, everyone.
I hear a phone call.
And I'm sure someone will come, and if they do, I have Ambassador Academy tonight for 10 Mondays in a row, so if I leave a little bit early, don't be offended. I'm
So
going
are
to
you-
another city thing.
So are you learning to be an ambassador or are you teaching?
So it's a citizens academy, other places, but kind of the stated goal is that people learn about the
How the city
city,
operates?
and then they become ambassadors of the city.
Okay.
And activities within the city, you know, so fire, police, you know, the streets and roads and that sort of thing. And then the idea, historically I did.
Oh, yeah.
So it's really a nice time. I mean, if you're new to the area, it's really a good way to understand a lot.
How it all
And then you get the interaction with people. Is there 20 now in the group? How many is in the group?
I think Marion said it was about 20.
Yeah. So it's good to meet these other people.
Yeah. Huh, cool. Maybe I should do that. Don't know, they also have
We were hoping. Norm.
I left you a voicemail, I'm sorry.
Okay, that must have been you. I'm sorry, I was in here already. So that-
My, meeting ran long.
Sorry to harass.
Nope. Present.
Why don't they do that every time they call?
Okay, here we go. It's just slightly after 4 o'clock on Monday, September 8th. We'll call to order this Board of Directors meeting of the Holland Board of Public Works. Janet, can we have a roll call, please?
Thompson,
Here.
Lily,
Here.
Lynn,
Here.
Engers, Couch,
Here.
Maloof, Van Beek,
Here,
Corbin,
For the record, we have a quorum. Any additions, changes, or deletions from the agenda?
No. Propose that we accept the agenda as been presented.
Support.
Motion by Lily, supported by Lynn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We have an agenda. At this time, we'll open our meeting to communications from the audience. We provide an opportunity for anybody who would like to address the board, requesting that you state your name and address for the record and adhere to a 5-minute limit. Any communications from the audience today? Hearing will close communications from the audience and turn it over to Ted for the consent agenda.
Joel.
Joel. Sorry about that.
Not prepared. Yeah.
All right, well, thank you, PJ. Consent agenda, we have 5 items on here this evening. First one is the minutes of the August 11th and August 25th meetings. We also have some updates to the fiscal year 26 terms of service. As the board will likely recall, at the study session in August, we talked about some changes to the deposit requirements to align with the Revenue Bond Act. So this terms of service update addresses that, as well as some clarifications of when a line extension or development agreement is required. It does remove stranded costs from PERPA qualified facilities. So these are those larger facilities looking to attach to our system. And that stranded rate was really there when HEP was new. Now that the debt's gone, the need for that rate isn't the same. And then a lot of the other changes are really just some changes to some additional definitions that the city attorney requested, and some shifting of some content to avoid redundancy. As a reminder, this is going forward at the same time as an ordinance update that did go for its first reading with the city. So this will go forward with that ordinance at the next council meeting on September 17th, and I believe it'd be effective 21 days later. The intent is for the terms of service and the ordinance to become effective at the same time. We also have a low service backup generator engineering services agreement with Fishbeck. As a reminder, the water treatment plant today on the low service, all we have is a natural gas fired pump for backup, which really can't meet the full average day demand, and also is from 1957 as far as vintage wise, so we really need to do something new. This will provide a lot better protection there. This is the first step, really getting the engineering underway. The purchase will come later of the generator and installation. We have rehabilitation of flocculation and sedimentation basins number 3 at the water plant. This is a continuation of some work done in 2014, really to overhaul the equipment within that tank. Kind of an item of interest to this is we have Northern Boiler doing the work, who normally works for us on the electric side, but seeing them venture into the water side is kind of nice. Get another contractor on that side. And then finally, we have declaration of surplus material, which is just some distribution transformers. So,
Thanks, Joel.
Joel, in the low service, just a general question. I know we put the generators, the gas-fired generators in place. We knew this, that we were gonna, there wasn't an opportunity to put larger or more of a scope so it would handle more of the utility, more of the electric needs?
there would have been, but it would have been a lot more challenging. We couldn't have configured it the way we did because of the way the electrical is fed at the site. We dropped down the voltage. The transformer for the low service is over at the lake side. So we would have to put the generator on a higher voltage, wouldn't have allowed us to do the peak shaving that we're doing for some of that return on investment with those other generators. So that's why we kind of handled them separately.
Yeah. Very good, thank you.
I have an additional question on that, and maybe this is early and will be worked out in the design. I was surprised it was diesel and not gas.
It's because this one doesn't really have the same opportunity for that peak shaving.
Yeah.
Diesel, the price of that is substantially lower than the natural gas. I think the natural gas service as well, there's some questions just, with the generators we have, and then doing this one, potential
Be able to
upsizing. So really diesel made sense for this particular application, which is strictly emergency standby.
'Cause I was just thinking about the maintenance of tanks and
Yep.
coagulation and all that stuff. It just seems like
It's,
that would be a bigger deal.
it's a substantial difference in the capital price of it.
Is it?
The other part, I think, generally from the NEC code, they actually prefer you go to diesel for emergency standby, just because in theory, if the electric's down, the natural
Oh, right.
gas could be down. Now,
Yep.
the probability of that is much lower.
Yes.
But in this case, it just made a lot of sense to do the diesel for that one.
Okay, cool, thanks.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the consent items?
I propose that we accept the consent items as presented.
Support.
Motion by Lily, supported by Lynn. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda items are approved. To major project updates.
All right, we do have one closeout memo.
Yay.
This is on the water treatment plant dehumidifier, and I think Adam Ossink is here to present that.
All right, good afternoon. So I just wanted to give an update on the closeout of the dehumidifier project we did at the water plant. As a reminder, this was approved back in March. So a little overview, the pipe gallery at the water treatment plant is the basement area in between all of our filters. In addition to pipes, obviously there's a lot of pipes, and there's 50 plus valves, a lot of different electrical components. There's 11 turbidity meters, 50 valve actuators, a bunch of different disconnects. All said and done, that totals up to close to about $1 million of electrical equipment and process equipment that really can't get wet. The system that was down there originally is from 1997, so it's pushing on 30 years old. Had really no turn down ratio. It was a gas-fired unit that was on 100% or it was off. It had pretty frequent breakdowns, as well as a little bit of safety concerns with it being gas-fired. It singed a couple filters a few times where it had to be replaced, and set the smoke alarm off quite a bit. So it would break down pretty often, and that led to humidity buildup, which is not a great thing on all that process equipment down in the pipe gallery. So the new system that we have put in takes that one big piece of equipment and replaces it with 3 smaller, more efficient pieces. So rather than being a gas-fired unit, the dehumidifier is now an electric desiccant dehumidifier. It has 3 stages of heaters in it. So that can turn down to only dehumidify the space to the extent needed. Rather than functioning on purely relative humidity, it functions on dew point. So it reads the dew point, reads the pipe surface temperature, and if you get the dew point in the area lower than the pipe surface, you don't make condensation. So shoulder months where you're in the fall or you're in the spring, it doesn't have to over dehumidify that space to push the dew point down. We also put in a constant circulation fan, so that's constantly putting 7,500 CFM through that space in the basement. Beforehand, all the air wouldn't move through there unless that dehumidifier was running. So now that's constant air changes in that area, which improves airflow, mustiness down in that area as well. And we also put in a 2-stage duct heater. So that heater, in addition to just conditioning that space to make it more acceptable for us to work in it, it also helps keep the pipe surface temperatures warmer. So all those 3 things kind of work in conjunction together to make it so the pipes don't sweat, the surfaces aren't wet, and we aren't putting a bunch of water onto process equipment down there. A couple of the cool highlights from this project: it came in a little over 14% under budget, which allowed us to purchase 2 portable dehumidifier units as well. Those are kind of on wheels and can get put into problem areas. Right now we have them underneath the pump room. It's another area with very low air changes that are going into it. It gets a lot of condensation as well. So we've put those down in there, and they're making a pretty immediate impact as well. We also coordinated this with the chemical storage project. They are cutting a door in the dehumidifier exterior wall of that room there. We were able to coordinate that between that contractor and then this contractor, which is Lee Industrial Contracting, did this, to get that door cut in a little bit early, save some time, save a lot of effort, and make that dehumidifier project wrap up ahead of the chemical storage. So kept a little bit separate, didn't have to have 2 different contractors on site at the same time getting in each other's way. And another thing that went really well is we had Chris, our industrial electrician, did a lot of the wiring ourselves, did it in-house, saved a lot of cost on that, as well as took a lot of ownership in the project. So all in all, turned out really great. We've really improved the condition down in the space. It's not a musty area. It's not a rainforest when something breaks down. Was put to the test pretty recently. We had a lot of hot weather, and then when the lake flips and gets cold, that's a recipe for it to rain down there. If you think about it being hot and humid, and a cold glass of water is going to sweat. Same thing happens with pipes. If it's really hot, you get cold water come through. If that unit's not running, then we get rain down in the inside of the building. So yeah, a couple of the cool pictures on there. They tore out the entire old unit. If you're looking at the new ductwork in there, that small unit, the gray box with the green light on it, that's the industrial desiccant dehumidifier. The duct fan is actually housed within the duct itself, so you can't see that. You can only see the control panel on the wall, and the heater is up high. So you get constant air circulating, and it's either being dehumidified, heated, and constantly pushed through the space.
It's a really great job by staff. I'll say kind of thinking outside the box. The original project was really just replacing the existing dehumidifier with same kind of unit. I think this gives a lot more operational flexibility than what we had before. And then coordinating with the work ongoing at the chemical storage. I guess what Adam didn't note this actually used to be, you couldn't have cut that wall in because this used to be buried. Because of the work on the generators actually first, and now that chemical storage, it actually allows for much better access for this equipment in the future for maintenance and replacement as well.
How do you deal with the discharge water on the portable unit?
So the portable unit discharge water they have built-in pumps, and those get pumped down to the sump area underneath the pump room. That's currently taking seal water from our transfer pumps and our high service pumps, so it's adding a very small trickle every once in a while. And that goes out to the reclaim well.
Any other questions for Andy? Great job, thank you. Adam? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
It's the second.
fine.
That's why.
It's my fault. I got you.
Call
I'm
me
here
Bill.
I got you, Adam. Don't worry.
Becky just brought up the projects review. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to look at this. I think, this is out there now on the board SharePoint page, so probably won't spend a ton of time on this. If there's questions about specific ones, let me know. But I'll just have a few quick highlights here. Holland City Fiber, just obviously that's a big one for the community. We are continuing service fulfillment on fiber hoods 1 through 7, and then fiber hood 8 is nearing completion here. We're looking around the middle of the month. As of September 1st, we're up to 2,415 services. The water treatment plant chemical addition, Adam touched on that a little bit. Just a heads up, if you drive by there now, you'll see the south side of that building. There is footings and foundation walls there. Right now, there is also some containment put up because they're doing some removal of waterproofing on the side of the building that was actually found to contain some asbestos, so they had to contain that for that removal. And then inside the building, the passenger elevator demo is underway. So as a reminder, that passenger elevator is going to be extended up to the 3rd floor. So getting a new elevator in there. And then I'll also highlight the water reclamation facility raw pump replacement project. That one actually is getting ready for a final walkthrough at the end of this week, just for punch list development, and hopefully close that one out. So that one may have a closeout memo as soon as next month, but certainly in the next couple months here. And the nice thing about is that one wraps up, I'll just note too, because it's been on this list a long time, the water reclamation, the electrical improvements, it's the new switchgear. The same electrical contractor is doing that work, so they are starting to roll into that work. So hopefully we'll see that one wrapped up here before the end of the year as well. Any questions about other projects?
Could you just explain, I went online to see if this pipe bursting process, it's a 10-inch pipe that we're putting in?
Yep, I'm gonna hold off on that one because I'm sure Brian's gonna get into that
Okay.
a little bit when he presents on that
See.
project later.
Okay,
If that's okay.
fine.
Great. Move on to regular agenda items.
All right. Item A is Greenlee Substation Transformer Service Contract. Steve Brinesman's gonna come up to present this one. We have had some issues with the transformers at that substation, which this contract would look at bringing somebody in to formulate a plan for that and potentially address that, which we'll get into the contingency a little bit, but I'll let Steve take that away.
Thanks, Joel. Good afternoon. Yes, Greenlee Substation, originally, we put that substation online in 2013, so it is, it's not brand new anymore, but the 2 power transformers there that serve that load, that convert our high voltage loop 138 kV down to 1247, those 2 transformers have a item inside the main tank way at the bottom called a preventative auto transformer. In both units, one worse than the other, but in both units, they're exhibiting some problems. We're hearing some noises and things like that. We've done some testing over the years. We've kind of paused this for a couple years now, and the way that we were able to pause this project is so that we could budget for it is one. But another is we've got a temporary adjustment on the controls of that transformer where we omit the steps on the load tap changer, which adjusts the voltage on it so that it doesn't use the odd steps. And when it doesn't use the odd steps, we basically omit the problem that we're seeing here. You say, well, why not keep going like that? The reason we don't want to go like that forever is we don't have a total voltage control. We don't have the granularity control that we would like to use on these transformers. And to do this project is fairly invasive. You got to pump down all the oil out of there. You've got to evacuate it. You got to pump fresh air in there, and then a person has to get down inside of that transformer. So it's fairly invasive. And that's why the cost here is substantial like it is. So $145,260 with Southwest Electric is what we're asking for, plus an extra contingency of $100,000. We hope, and we don't think that we're gonna use that $100,000, but if we have them there, they're down inside, and they can fix it at the same time, it's way more cost effective to do it right then and there. So that's why we're asking for that extra $100,000. If they can't fix it, it's gonna be more than $100,000. Then we're gonna evaluate our options and go from there. But these transformers are out of warranty. Like I said, they were put in service in 2013. This is an expense. This is not a capital investment that we're making. This is out of our expense budget. We did budget for this in our expense budget for the fiscal year 2026. Any questions?
Steve, if they can't fix it, I mean, could it be as bad as you get forced to replace them? Or you would go on the way you are now with this sort of workaround?
Well, if they can't fix it by doing what they're doing, the next option is basically we're gonna cut a hole in the side of the transformer and then replace that preventative auto at a later time. But that's gonna take a whole lot more effort, more people. When you cut a hole in the side of the transformer, you have a lot of debris from that cutting. Obviously, the windings, the paper, and everything inside that has to be kept clean. So it's going to be a lot more invasive project if that is needed. We hope that with a few tricks that Southwest, we've used them before on a smaller type project. They have exhibited a lot of knowledge. We feel that they're the best for this. We did get a quote from the manufacturer that was substantially more than this, nearly double from the manufacturer itself. So we elected to go this way.
Cool, thank you.
Could we have a motion on the recommendation?
I would propose that we accept the recommendation as it's stated for the investigation and potential repair of the transformer.
Support. Motion by Lily, supported by Lynn. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, item B has to do with Holland Energy Park, the combustion turbines at Holland Energy Park, units 10 and 11.
The principle is
An
very simple.
issue was identified by a service bulletin from Siemens on units 10 and 11, the gear set that's used on those. This is something we had actually learned about last year. We had included in the 5-year budget. We were looking at doing this, purchasing these in 27 and then installing them as part of the B outage in 28. We had, the board may remember, I think we gave some updates on that. We had an issue with Unit 10's gear set where we actually had a piece, like a tooth break off, a little section about an inch long. When we went through that, it kind of had us revisiting this issue with the equipment manufacturer for the gear set as well as Siemens. And they really recommended we move this up, so that's what you're seeing today is the actions necessary to move that up a year. It takes a little while to get the equipment, but I'll let Mike give a little more details about the issue with the gear set. what we're really looking at here.
All right, thank you, Joel. Good afternoon. Right, Siemens has identified a potential issue that could result in a failure of the gear set with a combustion turbine generator. So the gear set basically reduces the speed of the combustion turbine from 6,600 RPM to the 1,800 RPM that the generator needs. These are made up of a pinion gear and a bowl gear. The pinion gear is attached on a shaft to the combustion turbine. The bowl gear is attached on a shaft that's connected to the generator. The bowl gear actually has two wheels, excuse me, that are shrink fitted onto the shaft. Siemens has found during inspections of other sites with similar gear sets that those bowl gear wheels slip slightly radially, not radially, but axially on the shaft. And that slippage causes damage to, has the potential to cause damage to the gears themselves plus the generator, which could result in a lengthy outage of the combustion turbine generator. So the idea here is that we would purchase a spare set of gear sets for both combustion turbines and change these out during the inspection that we have planned for next September for both combustion turbines. And so the recommendation here is a capital budget amendment for fiscal year 26 and the amount of $4.8 million, and authorize the general manager to execute a change order to the long-term service agreement with Siemens Energy for this work.
I assume you do them one at a time?
Both units will be down at the same time for the inspection next year, but they're going to sequentially work on the gear sets to try to minimize the outage time.
Yes, we'd be bringing back one unit first, along with the steam turbine, right? So
Right.
it'd be kind of stepping back into service,
Okay, but there's a point in time when you'll be totally out.
Correct.
which occurs with the outages. This will just extend the outage a little longer than it otherwise would have been.
Okay, cool, thanks.
Any other questions on the gear sets? Could we have a motion on the recommendation?
I would like to propose that we approve the recommendation for the gear set replacement as stated.
Support.
It's a motion by Lily, supported by Lynn. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes.
Thank you.
Push these away.
Yeah, I'm sure they're real light.
Is it price per pound?
Paul, I want to drive a crank.
Yeah, there's not a lot of,
That was a large amount.
yeah, there's, the costs are not small with anything related to the,
Yeah. Are they, I mean, is a gear set a custom, you
They
know,
can-
to our generators?
I don't know if those ones, they're custom to that particular unit, but there are multiple units out there.
Yeah, there's probably 50 or 60 of them. These are really effects units that were installed before 2018, which ours was installed in 2017, 2016, so.
Yeah, so it's a limited, I mean, you're building something for a
For a,
3 or 4 dozen.
right, limited
ins-
population
yeah,
now.
Exactly.
And you mentioned the gear sets are not made by Siemens, it's a Siemens, it's a different,
It's a company called Flunder Grafenstatten. They're based out of France, I believe.
interesting.
Yeah. Answered now, just trying to get the microphone there.
Anything else on the gear sets? No. Move on to item C.
All right. Item C is the Grafskip water main pipe bursting project. So Brian Ritchie's gonna come up to talk about this one. He can talk, obviously, to Paul's question about how pipe bursting actually works, but I think he's also gonna give a little background of how we got to pipe bursting as we went through the budgeting here. Pipe bursting isn't something that obviously comes up a lot for us, so I think it's a
Thankfully.
good topic for it.
Yeah, thanks, Joel. Good afternoon, everybody. So, yeah, so this area, just to kind of give a little bit of a background, it's out near Heritage Meadows where we have lower pressure. We've had pressure complaints out there for several years now. It's kind of at the boundary of our ground storage district and elevator storage district. So this past year, we actually were able to do some work and essentially adding some valves and making a connection from elevated to that area to bring them onto the elevated pressure, boosting their pressure. Well, after we did that, we had an area in this stretch that's going to be replaced where we experienced 8 breaks within a couple of months, which for this main being 60s cast, not ever experienced this high of pressure, it's one of those where we knew it needed to be replaced soon, just not as soon as it did. So now that that's been done though, and that we've kind of done the pre-work ahead of it, it does still allow us to make this transition, bring them onto the elevated pressure. So when looking at this, the first kind of traditional open cut method is what we had looked into. But being that this would be specifically just replacing the water, maybe we wanted to explore our options and see, what other options can we do here. If you're lining it with a main with that many breaks, are you really getting the pipe you want from that? Probably not. Slip lining it, you're reducing the size of your main, so you're reducing capacity when you do that. So pipe bursting is very similar to slip lining in that they use a pull head, and it's actually bursting through the existing pipe with the same size pipe, so you're not losing any area of the pipe that you're putting in there. So we reached out to a few contractors, a few consulting engineers. We kind of did our due diligence on this, and we came across a local contractor actually that's done this in several areas. We actually reached out to their references, and they've had good experiences with them as well. So that's Midwest Trenchless Services. They're actually out of Whitehall area, and we feel confident that they can do this work. So in talking with them, it's a pretty straightforward process. They're going to have a couple of excavation pits to be able to pull the new pipe in. While they're doing that, they'll set up temporary water service for all the customers that are affected. There are a handful of galvanized service replacements in this stretch as well. So that's why you see the difference in $27,000 coming from our expense budget. So really what we're looking for here is a recommendation for not only a contract with Midwest Trenchless, but also an amendment to the budget, which was $300,000. This came out a little bit higher than we thought it would be, but this being the first pipe bursting project that we've done in the city of Holland or at the BPW, we weren't quite sure where that was going to come in. So we do think that with this being a smaller footage, you're kind of paying for that a little bit more too in terms of the premium with it. But in comparison to open cut, we had one that we actually bid not too long ago. It was around $500,000 in comparison. So there still is a significant cost savings by doing it this way. So the recommendation is to approve a contract with Midwest Trenchless in the amount of $397,550 with a 10% contingency for a total of $437,305. And then additionally approving the FY26 capital budget amendment in the amount of $110,305 for a total project budget of $410,305.
So you're pulling in a new pipe and bursting the old one out?
Correct. So it's cast iron pipe, and it depends on what your existing pipe is. RCP is one they will not do. It's obviously a little more structurally harder to break apart. But this being cast iron, this is actually a very common method used in a lot of areas. So yeah, it's basically just like the slip lining project. They'll use a drill string and put the drill string through the pipe, and then they have a pull head that has essentially a mechanism to break that pipe as they're pulling it through that existing pipe. So it's just kind of in place in pseudo. So you're not losing that existing pipe, but it's just breaking it apart and then pulling the new one with it. So the new one will be HDB pipe.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay. Wow.
And that was something else we looked at too, as far as doing PVC. And again, talking with the contractor, this is what they prefer to do. We actually talked with a couple of other municipalities, and this is actually their preferred method, is only using HDB.
Increases the density, obviously, of the soil surrounding the new pipe. know? 'cause-
Yeah, I mean, it's, you're effectively putting it in the same spot, right? So as long as you're not, it's a slow process in terms of how quickly they're pulling it apart. As far as the soils around it, you're only impacting the immediate soil right there.
So with this technology, you can upsize pipe up to 2 additional pipe diameters. You could upsize up to 2 additional pipe diameters. So with a 12-inch like we're doing, you could go up to a 16-inch pipe. And the head effectively looks like a large arrowhead with 4 splines coming off of it, and then a larger even section behind it. So the arrowhead shatters the pipe, and then the expansion segment pushes that into the soil around it. So if you're upsizing, you do have to be concerned about displacing that soil, and you need to be a certain depth below ground so you don't heave, and a certain distance away from other utilities so you don't break them. For a size on size like we're doing, that really isn't a concern. We are looking forward to this being a technology that we're going to use more often in the future. And one thing that we might even look at is that there's a lot of utilities that do this in-house because it's so equipment. It's essentially very low footprint in terms of the equipment. A lot of the manufacturers will rent this equipment for a whole season, and crews will just go out and put this in on their own. So this is a pilot project for us to see how this works. We're also trying to develop some of the local contractors to bring this into the region because we had a hard time finding this contractor. And we're hoping that in future years, we can drive that cost further down and use this for a lot more of our main replacement to kind of cover that delta that we talked about in some of the previous water utility study sessions.
So then you'd have to dig down for the attachments?
Right. So after they pull it through, they'll reconnect to the new main. And I think there's a total of 10 or 11 services. So that's kind of why we chose this as our pilot project, as Pete said, with minimal services on it.
I think they said 1 hydrant too.
Yeah. Yep.
That's kind of the optimal installation for something like this where you have minimal services. The more services you have, you're losing a lot of that benefit, right, with the surface restoration.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Amazing.
Sounds like it's time for a recommendation. I would like to propose that we accept the recommendation as it's been stated and the appropriate changes in both the capital budget and the required expenses for doing the service updates.
Support.
Motion by Lily, supported by Lynn. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes.
That they bring us in pictures.
Yeah.
Project pulls up. Yeah. We'll let you know when it happens because it all happens within about a day.
Yeah, and that's another great thing, you know, you don't have trenches, you don't have.
Amazing.
All right,
Any other business?
no additional business.
Stuff I really looked at.
Communication from general manager.
Only communications, I guess I would have a couple reminders. Our next meeting will be the study session on September 22nd. PJ, you said you're going to be absent for that?
Yeah, Carolyn will preside over that.
I'll be absent too.
Dave, you're absent as well? Very.
When is that?
The next study session.
And then
September
just another
27 or whatever.
reminder or notice, we have the strategic development team. Just as a reminder, strategic development team is the group looking at the community energy plan. I've done every few years to kind of refresh that. We'll have our next meeting at City Hall this Wednesday at 4 p.m. And the subject for that one will be looking at the 5 levers that were identified during the last strategic development team for the community energy plan, and going into a deeper dive on the electric portfolio lever to see if there's any changes there needed. Those were the only updates I had.
Great. Any communications from the board? We have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Support. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joel.